So, big question. Where does Asperger syndrome fit in with ASD?
Okay, well, that is a big question. So I guess just to when we're looking at some of the other traits or characteristics of ASD, there's some repetitive and restrictive behaviors that people might have. There can be some sensory challenges and things like that that folks experience. So it's I think before we start talking about Asperger's or ASD1, it's important to just mention that not everyone experiences all of the traits and characteristics of autism in the same way. Everyone's experience is really unique to them. So maybe it's a bit simple or silly to say, but I like to look at ASD as a garden, right? Every flower brings color and beauty into the world, but every flower requires its own special kind of care, right? You don't care
Hmm.
for a succulent the same way that you care for a rose, right? With plants and flowers, some need more sunshine, some need more shade, some need special soil or to be watered every day instead of every week. Um, so they're all flowers, but they're all very different. And we don't expect flowers to change what it needs or how it grows. We just change how we care for it. So flowers need a gardener who understands the specific needs of every single plant and cares for the plant in a way that helps them bloom or blossom and grow big and strong. So Asperger's or ASD1 is just one of the types of flowers in the garden that I was just talking about, right? It's just one type of autism spectrum disorder. Do you have any perspective or insight or anything that maybe I missed out on there?
No, no, I think you definitely hit the nail right on the head there. That was really well told. Or what uh, I did a talk actually virtually in front of students a couple weeks back. It was through a school, I believe that was out in Guelph, and one of the teacher who was a good friend of mine that I used to work with asked me, "What were your original thoughts on when you first found out about your diagnosis?" And this was in grade 4, and I told her that at that age, like as for many young individuals that are out there, you don't have a strong understanding on what ASD is or what Asperger's is, or I'll throw this in there as well, even Down syndrome as well too, right? So when I first found out that it was Asperger's, I didn't really take it as more as, I'm cursed for this for the rest of my life. What I like to tell people is, in a way, I consider this whole also a blessing as well. That thankful that I was able to find out about my diagnosis at such a young age and being able to help spread the message to other people about what ASD, Asperger's, or even what autism is as well.
Yeah, and something that maybe we should just touch on a little bit, just for a bit of understanding, because I know we've been talking about Asperger's and autism spectrum disorder, and so just a little bit of clarification. It might help to let people know that until 2013, there were 4 different types of autism spectrum disorders that were defined in the Diagnostic and Statistics Manual. DSM, which is just essentially the main book that doctors use to diagnose mental, behavioral, and learning disorders. So the differences among all of these different autism diagnoses were hard to understand for people like doctors trying to figure out, if any, of the diagnoses fit their clients. So there was a movement to kind of simplify matters by combining all of these 4 different disorders, which at the time included a diagnosis of Asperger syndrome, into one new, more accurate category called autism spectrum disorder. And autism spectrum disorder has 3 levels: level 1, 2, and 3. And those levels help us understand the amount of support needed for each person diagnosed with ASD. So level 1 is a person requiring support. Level 2 is a person requiring substantial support. And level 3 is a person requiring very substantial support. So people who would have been diagnosed with Asperger syndrome, as you were as a young fellow before 2013, are now being diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder level 1 under the new criteria. So just as listeners, are hearing us talk about Asperger's or ASD or ASD1, those all really are the same thing. We're referring to the same thing. And it's important, I think, probably to remember that when it comes to terminology or language like that, everyone is different, and it's up to each individual to choose how they identify, right? So some people with Asperger's still strongly identify with that diagnosis, and they choose to use the term Asperger syndrome or call themselves an Aspie, while other people don't anymore, and they prefer to call themselves autistic or level 1 ASD.
That's awesome. And I feel like, through the ASO, ever since I found out about you guys, even being a board member myself, I felt like, ever since even I've joined personally, it's a continuing way for me personally, not only give back to the community, but also to further my own personal knowledge and to really educate myself even a little more of what I don't even know about. What's the difference, like what we just talked about there, about the difference between Asperger's and ASD as well.
Yeah, there's always lots to learn, and that's one of the things that's great, right? You're learning from us, but we're also learning from you. So it's fantastic when we can all support each other and look at it like a big learning adventure.
Mm-hmm. So
if you want to hear more stories, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like. To support more youth by youth led projects, visit us at youthspeak.ca, where you can donate and spread youth mental health awareness.
YouthSpeak Performance Charity. Speak, inspire, change.